Good morning, all. Welcome back to part 2 of our Scaling Up session with Nick Fagan, the Managing Director of Next Practice. Just a quick reminder for everybody, it's really great for us to be obviously here with you guys live on LinkedIn, sharing these tools. Today is the day for you to not pull out because we've got some great content for you. These are the tools to use. We're going to be going through those today, the tools to use to help your organization grow. If your organization isn't getting the quantity of customers that you need to get, if it's, if you know that you could do more with customer service, if you know you could do more with profitability and helping efficiency, if you feel that money gets wasted, do more getting organized and helping your people, do more, making an impact and ultimately leaving a legacy as an organization and your contribution to that. This is for everybody. And so we are having some issues with LinkedIn, I think. So Luke can have a quick look at that. But for those of you that have joined us on YouTube, and we all good to go, keep going. LinkedIn's just dropped out. Okay, is YouTube still running or everything died? Okay, so we just got a couple of technical issues. So for those of you that are still watching here on YouTube, if you are in an organization that's hoping to grow, if you're in an organization that's hoping to do more, then stay tuned because this is part 2. So if you go back and have a look at the Best Practice TV YouTube channel, you can click on that above, go to where you can see Best Practice TV, click on that. You'll see the video before this, which is part 1. We talked about the introductions to the Scaling Up program. So while our team, this is Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. If you haven't seen it or read it, there it is right there. One of our favorite books here at Best Practice that we use in terms of tools to help your organization get more organized. Now, if you are somebody who follows Best Practice because of your quality system, ISO 9001 kinds of things, management system type stuff, these are great tools to be using to help you with your organization, give you the benefit of growing the organization and also complying with things like ISO 9001 at the same time. So how are we going there? We're all good. So we are live now on LinkedIn. Thanks to everybody who's starting to join us live on LinkedIn and obviously live on YouTube as we take on part 2 of our Scaling Up series here at Best Practice TV with the famous, ever famous, infamous Nick Fagan. So are you guys ready to bring Nick Fagan on board? So we've got some interns in the studio helping us this morning, getting some experience, and they're under the spotlight. So have we got him on board? Yes, we do. Welcome, Nick Fagan. Good to see you for part 2.
Thank you. Good. Thanks for having me back.
It's fantastic. I put a collared shirt on today, and you've got the black T-shirt. So
I live in this thing. It's so comfortable.
I was accused by the team this morning of wearing my black shirt every day. So I do have 5. But
yes, very good. Yeah, no, they're very comfortable. No, thanks for having me back, Kobe. It was a great session yesterday. It was good feedback. We spoke with some potential clients yesterday and shared some of the things we spoke about. We're in a collective call yesterday, which is great. I think, on reflection, it's lovely to be able to be presenting this information. And I think it's a great introduction you gave there. We're all about coaching SMEs, particularly around being great places to work, great places to buy from, and great places to invest in. And I think the alignment piece is critical to that assurance. Yeah. And I think you touched on it. Nice segue with the ISO as well to drive that improvement for those outcomes.
Yeah, it is. It's that constant challenge that, you deal with, that, people come to work and they feel like it's constant chaos, that maybe they're not, they're not working in an organization that could be as organized. They're an organization that, that struggles with that reactivity. And I guess the problem that we hope to help people solve is to in making a place fun to work at is people are confident they can do the work they love doing, which is with the current organizational move to another one. So if you're thinking about, actually, I'm not enjoying the company I'm working for, how can we help you move somewhere else while we're helping the organization grow and attract good people? So there's that constant, changing of players on the team, if you like. And it's no different to a high performance sports team. They do stick together for a certain period of time, but there is always that percentage turnover as the team grows and matures over time. So I think, solving that problem, for business owners, business leaders, managers, executives, that constant challenge of trying to make the business profitable, grow revenue, get organized, lock things in and get that sort of execution piece happening with a high level of sort of organization, so you can move on to the next project instead of firefighting the whole time. So, if you feel like you're somebody who's firefighting the whole time, then that's one of the problems we're hoping to help you solve. And that ultimate goal, making those organizations fun places to work, great customer experiences, so they're great to buy from, and obviously good returns for investors. Whether it's a small business that's owned by someone, like you and I own Next Practice together, that's great from a shareholder's perspective, but we also own operators, if that makes sense. So, so welcome everybody who's watching from around the world. We had lots of people from all over the place. So anyone who is watching, let us know where you're watching from. Even if you are part of the Best Practice crew, I know some of the guys who are working all over Australia are part of the crew. So welcome again, Barbara. This is going to be a good one for you. Come back to it. I appreciate you can only pop in for a minute. We'll probably be about 45, 50 minutes on this video. So Barbara, anytime, please ask me questions. So when you jump on, please go right ahead. So yeah, come back to the recording when you get a chance. Yesterday's session, a really great session. It's already up on the Kobe Summit Audio Experience podcast. You can get that podcast from any of your favorite platforms. I think we're streaming some pretty good audio today. So again, we'll strip out the audio and drop that on our podcast either later this afternoon as we finish the business day here in Sydney, Australia, or we will drop it on a podcast. So look out for it. You'll get it. Turn on your notifications for the Kobe Summit Audio Experience, and you'll get those podcasts as they drop. Okay, Nick, what amazing things have you got for us today?
Well, where do I start? No, look, we've brought our toolkit along, mate, and I think that it's really important that from yesterday we capitalise on a couple of things. And you said yesterday, and you've mentioned it in a couple of your posts recently, about those finishing lines and fun. The fact is, we need to understand where the finishing line is, and we need to plan for that. And I've got to say, from the fun perspective, it's really important to emphasize that in the engagement, day-to-day activities and at work. And one of the key clients we work with who has adopted us as a coach, which we're grateful for, but also the Align software program, the MD sent me a message. You're about to walk into the next quarterly meeting with them as that cycle of accountability. We meet every quarter to talk about the issues, and we talk about the opportunities, and then we plan accordingly. He said to me recently that they've never been so aligned and there's less noise around the office. And what that means to him is that the right people are doing the right things. And that's a critical part. And what we find in this case, and you touched on it, mate, and maybe you can express your views on this too, is that when those people have a sense of purpose and they do have their tasks in line with the values of the organisation and the direction of the organisation, that is fun.
It is honestly, like right now in our organisation, even given this pandemic, look, I think globally everybody had a bit of anxiety back in, January, February, March, April, but we're feeling really organised. We're feeling really productive. Everyone knows what they're working on, but more importantly, they want to work on the things they have to work on. And that's half of this process. That's been my biggest battle is, are people working on the things they want to work on? And then, yes, okay, we've all got to do some stuff we don't like, but if we can work on those things we want to work on, then yes, absolutely, the office is fun. And we're having a great time. Right now, I am doing exactly what I love doing, which is talking to you, right. and we're talking to our audience, and, we're sharing those great things that we do. So those people that have just joined us, let us know where you're watching from. I see a couple of people there joined us from Newcastle in Australia, and also down there in Adelaide. I love hearing, we got a few, obviously a bunch of Australians on today. And I think Barbara, you're over in the US from memory. So people from all over the world watching today. So the book we are talking about today is Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. I buy all my books on eBay for those of you that regularly follow us. I think it's about $30, $35. It's an excellent book. What Nick's going to be taking you through is some of the tools that are in the back. Let me just find a couple of pages for you. There's lots of these templates. You can get all this stuff here in this book. It's going to actually be taking us through some of the software, which I'm really excited by, that automates it and puts it all online, so you don't have a paper-based system. Yeah, awesome.
Thanks, mate. That's excellent introduction.
Over to you, Nick.
Thank you. Luke, could we bring up those slides? I'll just do a quick recap if we could, Kobe, because folks might have not seen yesterday what we were talking about. Just a quick view, if we could, of some of the key decisions to be made within a business. And thanks, Luke. That's great. Just if you can go back one slide there, Luke. Kobe, could you talk to us particularly? I mean, you are a fan, as I am, of Brendan Burchard. We use his high performance planners on a daily basis, which are wonderful in setting you up for a positive mindset for the day. But yeah, could you talk us through this in a little bit, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, look, I think some people may or may not know about my kayak paddling career, as part of the journey of starting this business. And one of the world's top athletes in kayak paddling, he said something to me, back when I was about 25, 26 years old, and we were talking about training. And, we're sitting around having a coffee after a morning training session. He's about 10 years older than me. Lovely guy, Dave Kassane, his name is. And we're talking about training. He says, look, you've just got to do it without thinking. And so this statement here by Brendan Burchard is really interesting. Actually, someone's just picked up my my award for when I won a national series. There it is on the cover of Men's Health magazine. That's for another day. But from what I've realized, and then it's really succinctly put here by Brendan Burchard, is that when you study high performance, real high performers, sports people, artists, musicians, premiers, presidents, when you study high performance, you'll see that they have systems built into their days that drive their success. It's systems and routine, and constantly tweaking and improving that routine, but it's systems and routine that set you free. The randomness and the chaos, both in organizations and in your day and in your life, create chaos, and it creates reactivity, and it creates, the opposite to freedom. It creates constraints on you. So, Brendan Burchard is right here. He's got his great book that he wrote and released a couple of years back called High Performance Habits. It's an absolutely excellent book, and I highly recommend it, but it's that routine that's going to set you free. And that's what we're talking about here in organizations. We talk about a lot of best practice with management systems, with ISO systems. If you're thinking about ISO 9001 accreditation or any of that kind of stuff, if you come to our YouTube channel for that kind of stuff, that's what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is actually, yes, it's great to have that management system, but let's get the people on board. Let's get the organization operating. Let's get those outcomes that you're looking for. So when you study high performers, you'll see that they have systems built into their days that drive success. My system, up at 5, anywhere from 4:30 to 5:30 a.m. I'm out of bed, depending on what time I went to bed the night before. From work perspective, this morning I was up at 5. I was out the door at 5:30, 5-kilometer walk. It's done. It's thinking time. No phone, no podcast, no earphones, nothing, no technology. I just have my GPS on my wrist, my Garmin that tracks my heart rate and my distance and my pace, and I focus on walking and thinking. And that's that is one of the secrets to my success. And my success in paddling came from training routine, set the program, follow the program, do the work, and then keep tweaking performance to get the results.
Awesome, mate. That's terrific. Because as we know, as sportsmen, I did the same when I was running marathons, is that if I do the work, I follow the system and the training program, I enjoy the event so much more because I'm capable, I'm ready, I'm fit.
Yeah, and you deliver the result. You deliver the result.
Yeah. That's right. And the reward that intrinsically that feels in achieving, having done the work, is so much more than any quick fix we can find. And today we're not talking about quick fixes. These things take time. Now, how long have you been in business for, Kobe, and how much have you learned? And this is the thing.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? It's not
100%.
It's not a quick journey. And that's the point I'd like to make. So look, thank you for that. And I think that what we're talking about here in the Rockefeller habits, we talk about the habits, and there's 10 of them. They form the basis of this routine in scaling up. Okay, just as a measure, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Thank you, Kobe. And Luke, can we just jump to the next slide? Thank you. The backbone of this particular book, as Kobe was demonstrating, with scaling up, there's 4 areas, and it's an S curve that has us looking at the scaling up piece. There's people, attracting and keeping the right people. There's strategy, which is creating a truly differentiated strategy. Yesterday I mentioned the term, there's riches in niches, or riches in niches, as the Americans would say. But what is that strategy? Where is that rich vein of gold that we need to find? The execution piece is around what we talk about, Kobe, is the cycle of accountability, and that's driving flawless execution, and that's repeatability. That's what we're looking for, the repeatability in discipline. And the last part of that is the lever of cash, where we've learned over the last 6 to 8 months, those who have or had prepared for a cash reserve to weather the storm are going to do better coming out of it. So they're the 4 pillars, if you like. I just wanted to recap on, not to go into too much detail at the moment, but I want to make this available on our Best Practice Biz website, Kobe, as a guide. So this will be all included. Thanks, Luke. The scaling up journey, and I think what we just spoke about, this is not something which is generally a short-term initiative. We've been in business, Kobe, now together for the last near on 10 years, but we've worked together over 20 to 25 years in trying to perfect the craft. But I think, as a business owner, and given your journey, would you be able then just to talk through what this means to you in terms of the journey of climbing Everest? Can you add a little bit of context around this?
Yeah, 100%. Like, if I think about, the last 20 years, and I've, I've been working together in, separate businesses, and then together in this group organization, until, it was initially one organization that split off into a number of organizations, and it became a group, is that it's definitely been this journey of, you start up by yourself and you were working separately, you had a business partner, and then, you sort of go through, you're trying to get into a bit of a routine, you make some progress, and then you drop down a hill, or you hit a glass ceiling, and the big changes that occurred over in your business with your business partner, and then then you go through, you join up, and you maybe join a team, and you can go a bit faster and a bit more efficiently, and then that team has a hiccup, and you have a bit of a decline, and that's the ups and downs there that you can see on this graph. You've got different points, and maybe you get a plateau where you can stop, and if those little things are tense, I assume they're diagram, you camping
right
along the way. You can stop it, you can get to a place where you can rest and relax, and you hit that plateau, and everything's sort of, it's good, and then then it can get steep, or it can, you can go up, and it gets steep and really hard to get to that next level. So as you're going to those levels, there's ups and downs along the way. And I was only talking to someone this morning about the ups and downs of one project's going really well, and then that I dropped the ball on another project, and that's been this journey, this constant journey over 16 years. And if I had the tools that I see now, and probably, I think the biggest mistake I've made that I want to encourage people to is, like I've always said, I listened to advice, but I don't think I did. I heard the advice, I didn't listen, and I didn't digest it, and I didn't deploy any empathy towards the person giving me that advice. And I think that's the biggest mistake, because I was like, yeah, I get it. But I didn't actually, training as an example, I didn't value training. I said I valued training, but I didn't value it so much that I invested. And now what I do is I invest a huge amount of effort in training and developing people. And I find that the closer those relationships are with people, and, we're talking about people first and getting the right people doing the right work in the right seats, the closer you get to people, if you stay really close to people, and you have super high touch, super one-on-one with people, and obviously this process in scaling up explains how to do that a bit more formally, that people will leave. It's not, if you don't have a connection to people, then you'll be frustrated because they stay. But if you get closer and they're not the right people, they'll leave, because you'll build a friendship, and they'll be, hey, you can go and work on those things because you're more inclined to be doing that, or you're better suited for those other pieces of work. And then new people come along, and it's a lot easier. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake in terms of the people part, which is where we're sort of talking about. But definitely there's highs and lows along the way. We'll talk later on the strategy, execution, and cash. But from a people perspective, there's definitely you definitely hit those plateaus, and then the team sometimes needs to be different. For that big push to the end, right at the top of that graph there, to hit that goal, that big, hairy, audacious goal, sometimes you need a different team. And if you use Mount Everest as an example, you can use the Sherpas to get you to base camp, but you got to do the rest yourself, and you need oxygen, and they're not there for that part of the journey. So it's a really good example.
Yeah, that's terrific, mate, because you're right. Those points are like a base camp at each point. But what this and the analogy we're using is climbing Everest. But what we need to build in and what we're talking about is regular points where we do stop and check our oxygen, our energy, our health. And those points allow us to then prepare for the next push. And I think that, the one thing that you've been big on, and I've appreciated this, is that you're never losing sight of that big, hairy, audacious goal. Now, what that would mean in terms of time on that scale, maybe 20 years. But thinking about what that looks like does plot the course to the top. And in each of those particular points, we can stop and check our health as individuals, as teams, as you say, and make adjustments accordingly. Because I guess the one thing, Kobe, that we've probably learned in this last 6 months is that if we forecast 3 to 5 years, it's probably more guesswork than anything.
Absolutely.
If you break that down into those quarterly chunks, we're actually paying attention to the things that matter and then adjust accordingly at each push through quarter, year, 3 year, 5 year, and so on. Does that make sense? And I think that that's a great analogy there in terms of getting to the top. But I'd like just to put it into perspective that these, again, your training analogy, this climbing, it's all around the discipline and the practice, because as we discussed yesterday, coming out of what we've dealt with, it's not thinking about it that will do it. It's actually talking and acting that will get us out of this. And that's a real key, and key to the scaling up, which is very much that group conversation to plot that course to the BHAG. Does that make sense?
100%.
So I think that's a great sort of segue for us to then, if you're happy to, walk into the tools that we might be able to discuss today.
Yep.
Can we have a look at the next slide, please? Look, thank you. So we talked about at the slide above around the 4 decisions to think about. What scaling up and the Align program do is place some tools, as you can see, in each of those given areas of people, strategy, execution, and cash. So depending on, like we do, Kobe, coming together on a quarterly basis, or management teams and leadership teams coming together on a quarterly basis, analysing the business, looking at issues and opportunities. Well, if we find out we want to work on some issues and some opportunities, there's particular tools that can help us frame up those decision-making to push into that next quarter, if that makes sense. Some of these are foundational, like the strategic plan, the vision summaries, the 7 strata. They're probably those building blocks, or they're foundations that sit and are not touched regularly. But things like if you look at people there, the functional accountability chart, the process accountability chart, that could be updated quarterly. Using the analogy of the climb, every base camp, we might have to do a bit of a functional accountability chart or assessment to see if the right people are in the right seats doing the right things. And down in the execution part, you can't get away from those Rockefeller habits, which are the things in the backbone that keep us focused. Now, we used the example of Naomi Simpson at Red Balloon. She used that Rockefeller, or has used the Rockefeller habits checklist to keep the team focused through this pandemic. And recently, just yesterday, I spoke listening to Vern Harnish talking about the team at Atlassian. They're using the same system, which is great to know. And over in the bottom corner is the cash, which is, all importantly, is how is it that we can shorten the time frame, realistically dealing with those precious customers of ours, to have that fair exchange and receive that cash quicker than what you would normally. So, and the Power of One, which is a fantastic tool, Kobe, where you can look at your current price list and say, well, what are the incremental changes we can do to pricing, what profit, and those other areas of focus that might help us deliver more cash into the business and have that flow happening. So that's just a bit of a summary, if you like. And the thing I'd like to do, and by all means, if you'd like to make comment on any of those, please feel free.
Yeah, look, I think, it's a case of, I like to talk to people about how I do things and how, how we of a business has been successful, because, obviously we can talk lots about our clients, and the group's got over 1,000 customers that we're working with, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, all over the world. So, if you're watching this, I know, hey, Chris has just joined us from San Diego in California. We've got a few people from all over the world that if you are, and I see some of you guys are safety specialists or occupational health and safety OHS specialists. I see some of you guys, doing different industries that, this is about, like, and I just came out of a meeting with someone this morning, talking about the one-page personal plan. What can we do for the team members, particularly in the marketing team, who help us with all this great work. We've got some people sort of coming and going, and we want to make sure that people are, the intern program's really well structured. We've got some interns in the studio this morning learning some new skills, but we want to make sure that our staff are learning new skills and having really, formalized processes there. So the one-page personal plan is relevant to every single person that will ever watch this video. What is your one-page personal plan? What are your individual goals? Have you got some system and structure behind actually achieving those things? Now, for some people, when I talk to, Fiona, my wife, she's like, I just want to be a good mother. I want to, look after the house. I want to come and do some projects at best practice, and, catch up with my friends. And so she's got those kind of goals. Whereas I've got the big take over the world goals, if you know what I mean. So it's or help the world, it's not take over the world, it's help the world. We want to inspire improvement in 100 million companies. That's a pretty big, hairy, audacious goal for the group here. And so that's on my one-page business plan. But then we can talk about functional accountability, and we can say, well, if you look at football, and I talk soccer when I use that terminology, the goalie is responsible for protecting the goal. And if he goes up to the striker's position to go and try and score some goals, well, he's accountable. He said, yeah, I'm going to do that position. I'm going to sit in that seat. I'm going to protect that goal. And it's about functional accountability for the striker is responsible for trying to strike goals. The goalie is responsible for protecting the goal. So then you can start to look at process. So I think it's important for you guys to understand how these things work together. What we're looking at here is some of the succinct things, and I keep coming back to some of the, our audience, you guys watching on YouTube that watch our ISO 9001 and the quality assurance stuff, and that's how you found us here at Best Practice. What we're trying to do here is give you really functional, operational tools that help your organization to be a fun place to work, get organized, all that kind of stuff. And it'll give you the pleasant byproduct. You can use all these things here to comply with those international standards, for your certification or for your customer, but it also helps your company. So, the one-page strategic plan, we've been using that here at Best Practice for over 5 years. Previous to that, we had a few goes at one-page documents, but the one-page business plan, strategic plan has really been operational. And I think various forms of the Rockefeller checklist, habits checklist over the years. So that's the kind of stuff that brings us to where we are today. So far this year, just on one little metric, which I think is relevant for everybody, we've done almost 30,000 social media posts in 2020 during this pandemic. And that's going to continue into 2021 and onwards. That's just perpetuity for us, how we do social media, just as an example. And I just want you to understand that we use these tools to achieve that. And we are going to grow this company. It's not negotiable, and we're not scared of it. We're not scared of our success because we're like, well, what are we scared of? I was talking to someone yesterday. They've got a personal development. They've got a personal plan to actually achieve some goals. They sent me a text message last night. It's like, oh, it's really scary, And I'm like, well, what are you scared about? Are you scared about making more money? Because he said, I want to make more money. I said, well, what are you scared about? Are you scared about making more money, or are you scared about not making money? Well, you're moving to something where you're moving yourself to a position where you've got a better opportunity to make more money. Well, why would you make less money? So it's this fear that people make up in their head. So I think for those people that are sort of scared of starting or changing or developing their career or setting goals, that one-page personal plan is going to really help you guys. And I'm glad it's at the top of the list. That's just one. I can talk all day about this stuff, as you know, but really helpful for people.
Oh, great, Kobe. That's terrific. And as it is, and we're talking about business owners here, I'm really glad you emphasised that one-page personal plan, because we do, and you have promoted this internally for some time, to have those things actually pegged and understood internally, then bringing that to the table in terms of planning my future with the business is a great way to share. If you're confident and comfortable enough to share, it's a great starting point, because then I guess what you can do as a business owner, and correct me if I'm wrong, is understand the motivations of that individual, look for the right position within a business, and train accordingly and coach accordingly. And that's and sometimes I guess the point there, and something you're very good at, and I'd like to think that I am too, is that you take that on board and remind people if they're moving away from those plans, what's changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bring us back on track, you know, and that's as an individual, that's a one-on-one thing.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad place to start. I got to say. Yeah. And I think these other tools are very complementary to that, because if we use that example of one individual in the business, well, we spoke about yesterday, the things that I love to do and the things that I don't, we'll get that up. It will get that out up front. And then the functional accountability chart will place me somewhere doing something which is meaningful, which contributes to the strategy, of which then I'll execute. And generally my efforts will bring in some form of revenue because I've got a KPI for that measure as a salesperson, for instance. Does that make sense?
100%.
It's a lovely linkage that you put together there, and thank you for that. That's awesome. Would you like to have a look at Align?
Absolutely. I want to see it. I want to see it. Show me the stuff.
Beautiful. Do you like dashboards? Tell me about dashboards.
Well, the best practice logo, you know, the original, you know, not the biz, not the group logo, but the best practice logo is a graph. Like, you know, I've been saying to people for 20 years of my career, do you have a clear picture of your organization's performance, safety, sustainability, corporate citizenship, profitability, cash, people, performance, you know, happy staff, customer satisfaction, staff satisfaction? Do you have a clear picture of your organization's performance? It's what drives me. It's what excites me every day, because if you can start capturing that data, you can start adjusting what you're doing, because you can see how you're traveling, and you can say, well, how are we going? We're going good. Let's push on profitability. Oh, we actually affected culture. You know, we affected culture, staff satisfaction. It's not sustainable, up and down. I love it. Show me.
Yep, perfect, my friend, because that's why we're excited about this software, and we've been waiting for some time. And I know this has been around a little bit of this particular program, but, you know, really, I was so excited in this last 12 months to be able to find something that has it all in one spot. So bear with me for a second. I'll bring that up, and just tell me when you can see that, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Stand by. We're just going to get out of this here. That's it. Yep.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay. As an opening gambit, there you have it. Now, that is my dashboard. Now, I'll just say this. As you can see there, here, it's a sandbox for me. So this is one that is generated. We have, what sits behind here is a list of companies that we work with that I have a view as a coach of all their performance, which is wonderful. Can I just share with you how powerful that is? Because I do check in on a weekly basis against their particular plans and their number one priority. And I say, how are you going with that? And you might come to me, Kobe, and say, man, we are full steam ahead. And I go, continue, fantastic. You might say, I've hit a couple of barriers. What do those look like? And then talking that through, it's so powerful. But you know what? It's reduced the amount of noise, particularly around those items, but we're focused on those items. Not bright and shiny things that might distract me, but here they are. Now, I just wanted to, when we talk about tools, we could spend all day on the dashboard, but I'm quite mindful of time, and we talked about the tools here. But I really want to say that this platform brings all the tools we've just spoken about into one section, which sits up here. See this strategy piece?
Yes.
We'll drop that down. You can see there actually not all, but most of the tools that we've just touched on sit in here, and they're live. Okay. So that's at the top banner. Operationally though, if we come down to the left-hand side here, we've got our day-to-day work. Does that make sense?
100%.
Strategy top line, strategy top line, actions, daily routines through here. So we can take it anywhere we like, but I'd like to touch on these tools particularly. And what I mean and how this relates is that in the one-page strategic plan, which I'll bring up in a moment, when it's populated, it makes its way in part to the dashboard. So it brings that out of the one-page plan into my dashboard when it's related to my particular activities and KPIs. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So we have a 360 view of accountability against everyone in the organization and the things they are working on. So let's start at the top here. If you mind, I'll just jump in here. And it's just having a bit of a think about it. Now, can you see that? Now,
Yep.
this is broken down into these 6 sections. Now, just if you cast your mind back for a moment to that diagram, which was the climb to Everest, yeah? And it broke it down into, if you remember, quarterly, 1
Yep.
year, 3 to 5, and foundation, which is in foundation is our BHAG. So if I just open up our foundation for a moment, so just if you just go back to that diagram, we are scaling up, but we've got to start somewhere. The foundation and our planning is where we start. And if we open that and cascade it, now this is all live and you can type directly into these boxes. We start with those core values. Who are we? What is our why? Here you can see our purpose and our BHAG. It's already there. So the flag is actually planted in the ground from the outset. We know that 20-year plan. And just remind the audience, Kobe, how many companies is it that we want to influence and encourage to improve?
I'd love to see 100 million companies with this one-page business plan, because that's what it is. You know, this screen that we're looking at right now is the headings of your one-page business plan. And my goal is that if we can get 100 million companies to do this bit of work, either with our help or by themselves with videos like this, identify their core values, identify their purpose, identify their BHAG, because a lot of the entrepreneurs that run these companies have got it in their head. They're just very reactive. I've seen it. I've been in business long enough. I've been that person, that reactive, random, frustrated, angry, happy, sad, emotionally, all over the place, optimist that's delusional and trying to take over the world. That, we're here to actually help companies. And so, that's my goal. 100 million of those companies. It's going to affect a lot of people. It's going to make a lot of people's life at work fun.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Because, as we like to filter our people through our core values, but the purpose is important, because daily, and we go to that left-hand side of the screen, my activities, my contribution is X to the whole. You know what I mean? That I have a contribution of meaningful effort that leads us to our BHAG. And that's, I might not be here for the full journey, but today I'm contributing. And I just want to move through this quickly. But what are our brand promises? And I think just recently, mate, you've been big on the risk management of promise. And really, if we remind ourselves of what it is, this is just, again, an example. Speed of installation, easy to do business with, results in a week. Simple. One thing I'll say about this, and Einstein, to paraphrase, is this is making things simple, not simpler, because we know that business isn't that simple. We're just trying to make it a bit more simple, if that makes sense. Right. Attached to that is our brand promises. If I'm in sales and if I'm in delivery, I know that 10 days or less, we have to be meeting our measurable results, just as an NPS. And you mentioned about this just a moment ago about NPS. I'm really excited. I'm just going to run ahead with this, but embedded in this, Kobe, is an employee NPS. You have the external NPS, but you can build in here an employee NPS, so you can bring them together to see how you're tracking. So that's
just to quickly explain that for anyone who doesn't know what NPS is, it's like, how likely are you to tell your friends and family, you got to come and work at this company because it's fantastic? And the more people that are trying to work at a company, the better, because, as the organization, you got more people coming to you, you got a better choice. Instead of having to go out and like drag people in. Hey, I need someone to work. You come here. Like, I don't want to work for you. It's horrible. That I want to work. I'm desperate, like banging on the door. I'll come and work for free. In fact, I'm going to pay to work for you. That's the goal. Like, you don't want to do that because you want to rip people off, but that's the kind of relationship that you want to be, having. That is starting to happen to us here at Best Practice. People are like banging on the door saying, I want to come and I want to be part of what's happening at Best Practice. I'll pay to work there.
Yeah. And great. And something that, you and I can talk about is really using that employee NPS as well. Is an equal measure, as a data point, a critical data point. And it's funny enough, by doing so externally and internally, that's one of the Rockefeller habits. Yep. So just, again, I won't go into too much detail. You can talk about your 3 to 5 year plan. You talk about key thrusts. and the capabilities that you need. Now, that is around people, technology. What are the key drivers that will push you forward as a business? Never getting away from profit. And that's built into the front end, already knowing that our pricing structure is set up in such a way that it retains a value of X and a profit per X. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that, as you can see here, just to make the point, see these little question marks up on the right-hand side?
Yep.
This actually will give you a full explanation of each section. It is excellent. And now, as a coach, we lead people to this. And I say, this is how we go about things. And please check out this bit of information attached. And I'll tell you, those who actually have embraced it, go and have a go. They have a go themselves in terms of populating, using these as a cue to help them along. It is, I just want to emphasize, it is so helpful.
Hey, I'm going to cut you off there for a second, just quickly for the people that are watching. Do they contact you to get a look at this? Like, do they send you a direct message on LinkedIn and you have a hangout? How do we do this so that they can get in and have a poke around?
Just like you and I are, that's the ideal forum for discovery. And the twofold, because it's a lovely conversation with you, because you're explaining the journey you've had and the issues you faced. And then these as tools can be something that we can apply because we know where your issues might lie. So I would say that messaging, or you can go to the website Align today and check yourself. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. If I did it in sequence, I'd say buy the book.
Yep. Buy the book. $30. Yep.
Yep. And there's another version coming. Vern Harnish is about to republish or an updated version or edition based on 2020 experiences. I think we could all benefit from that. I would then look at the tools in there, and as I said, we'll make them available via PDF in the Biz website as a guide. They're in the book, of course. You can download them via Scaling Up as the website. Then I would look at this. I would come into Align today and say, well, this is, but what I really love
is a link for you.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's great, because I would be more than happy to talk with people about how this would be best applied in context, because context is everything when it comes to this.
Absolutely.
And again, it's the starting point. Some KPIs are better than none, but what are those KPIs? And capture some, and it will start you on the journey of your climb of Everest. Okay. Yep. Just quickly, the 1 year plan, again, it talks about the goals, key initiatives, it goes on. And then further down, and just one thing I want to make a point, where it segues across actions, but here, Kobe, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, weaknesses, threats, and trends. These are the things that we need to be practicing more of from a risk management perspective, given what we've learned over the last 8 or 9 months. Maybe these things should be a bit more emphasized for us to prepare ourselves for risk and opportunity management. Then we're at the heart of this is this quarterly pulsing, which, sorry, that's a reminder there. I'll get that out of the screen.
Better go to the Murrumbidgee PHNN.
That's right.
Good.
Obviously, I'm working with them on coaching them as well. Here we've got our quarterly actions. Can I just say, this is our pulse. This is our quarterly focus, where we can do the analysis and reading the data points. You said net promoter score internally and externally, the financial measures that we've set ourselves, the people, the strategy, the execution, and cash all comes into this quarterly conversation to say, what's our next push up Everest? Does that make sense? So it's a lovely base camp check-in every quarter to be nimble enough to deal with the circumstances we found ourselves dealing with in the last 8 months. So I won't go into too much more detail there, but does that give you a feel, Kobe?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And I want to keep pointing out to people that, we come from an ISO background, and we're looking for things to help you guys with, we have an ISO best practice. The certification part of our business has an ISO accreditation to be able to do ISO certification. And so it's these systems that we're using in the background that we wanted to show you that you can, and educate our team and make sure that our team, when they're doing audits and assessments, that's that part of the business, that they are well versed in looking at these kinds of things, so that the systems and processes that you build for your organization are focused on the right things. They're not focused. Yes, they give you compliance, but they're focused on the more important things of revenue, growth, happy customers. Yes, compliance is important, but too often businesses focus on compliance that doesn't give them any of the other value in terms of actually helping them grow and make them profitable. It's more of a handicap than it is of actually a turbocharger. So we want to be looking at systems and processes that turbocharge and really thrust your organization, to use thrust as a term, not act as a handicap or an overhead cost that, really holds you back. So we want to be looking at what you can push you forward and gives you the pleasant byproduct of things like certification down the track. So, and that's why we love this system so much. Hey, talk me through, what was the next thing you wanted to cover?
I'll just quickly, in that quarterly focus is the themes, the measurable and critical number. Above all else, this is what we're focused on. But equally, our celebration. We need to be celebrating, and the reward that will come with that effort. This here as the target on the critical number for the quarter is what everyone is focused on. And now this is the alignment piece. All our collective efforts, and we talk about this from a marketing, sales, finance, delivery, customer experience, all looking at those numbers. And we're all pushing for those numbers, knowing that there's a big dinner coming at the end of the quarter to achieve it.
Yeah, but, rewards. We talk about rewards a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where this is built in, because it asks me to think about that. And so who do I ask? I ask my team. What do they want? Okay. Again, Kobe, I know we're conscious of time here, but you can see that's one of those tools. Now, as I said, the functional accountability, the process accountability, the cash acceleration strategies, and the power of one as a cash accelerator all sit in here. Okay. Are you wanting to move to the left-hand side for a moment to look at the...
Yeah, go for your life. I mean, at some point in time, maybe that alignment checklist, is that the one we talked about yesterday?
Excuse me. That is front and center, right beneath the one-page strategic plan, is our checklist. Now, as you can see, all these are printable, right? You can actually print them out. So you can actually get a hold of these. But you can see this particular sandbox company, of those tasks, 80% are complete. So actually give me a KPI against the things when I go through here to see where it is, my pieces of work per quarter that I need to work on. And in fact, I've probably found that there may be some alignment issues around the expectations or understanding internally. Then I need to be focusing on our employee net promoter score. Well, is that the initiative? Now, if I come over here for a moment, so I'm going to step out of the strategy piece.
Go.
Yeah, our tools. And I come over to the actions, because what I populated in here makes its way to this screen, which then outlines you see this top line? The number one thing, create a culture of transparency. And I'll open that up. Resulting in an employee net promoter score increase of 10. That's the number one priority. But what I want to show you is you see how that's one priority, but it is delegated tasks to individuals, myself included. I have to, as a part of that culture building, I need to have 20 one-on-one meetings with employees. Now, I can click on that and it'll open that particular task up. What do I need to do? Create the survey, schedule lunch with Don, contact 5 potential clients. This sits within my accountability. But you can see here, as it cascades up and down, that for each of those priorities, there's subtasks and delegations with KPIs built on the right-hand side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what all that hard work on our plotting that course for Everest has been brought out into that one-page strategic plan, and has been brought out of that with delegation to teams. So here's where the magic of alignment happens, mate. This really focuses us on the things that we should be focused on. And then below that, we have our meeting rhythms. We're big on this meeting rhythms. And you said it yesterday, we must commit to these particular meetings of people, because we know that talking together will create the action that will help us achieve our objectives. So we've got our daily huddle meetings, And in here, you put in the tasks that are related, the questions, what did you accomplish today? What are you focused on today? What is your top priority? So it's a alignment, reminding. And I think, Kobe, this is where you're very good. You might ask those questions, and what you're actually doing is coaching me to say, well, where am I stuck? So you can see down here, we've got what are the things that I'm stuck on in achieving those or accomplishing those tasks? What am I focused? But you can remind people and correct people, bring them back in alignment. So weekly huddle, you can set this up as your meeting rhythms and as delegated tasks. You said this yesterday, the right people doing the right things. But, for you as a business owner, imagine being able to delegate the particular tasks as the priorities here each and every day, and then weekly to check in, such that you're freed up to be at the front end of the business, having the conversations with people you really want to. And I think the other thing in all these is here, because what we know about these activities from day to day, there are things that either I'm holding up, which can happen, right? Am I the bottleneck? And the things that I'm stuck on. But you know what? I can pull out a report of all the stucks across a business to see where there's bottlenecks. If you can see here, you see there's a stuck by need, stucks by user. So we can pull out a report to say, well, if I generate a quick report, I can say, oh, I know where I need to be focused. Here's some of the issues I'm dealing with. So there you go. Jane, Nick, and Tom. These are the things needs help from. Very clear. So you can see that I just wanted to, for folks to understand at the top end, the strategy piece is something that's reasonably well fixed and something that keeps us focused. But we can move to the left-hand side to drive the cadence of things that need to be happening on an annual, quarterly, or 5-year, 10-year basis. So enough of me lecturing. What do you think?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Tell me something. What is the individual user, like you're obviously going to pick this and roll it out to your team. What does an individual users look like? What does Nick, Nick can see everything at the moment because Nick's a manager. Are you able in this instance to show us what a user's dashboard looks like and what a user looks like?
Yes. So if you look at this is my built dashboard. I've got a view of the overall objectives of the business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at my targeted value, because if I look coming down here, Kobe, here's my priorities and overview. Yeah.
Yep.
78% complete on these. And if we go back, do you remember that cascading activities and initiatives page, which was annual? Here's my individual one. So it's stripped out those from the group and put them in for me. I am 17 out of 20 and 85% complete on my 20 one-to-one meetings with employees. In my creating 520 sales qualified leads, I'm 302 of 520. I'm 58% there. Got to get cracking. Got to get moving. I work with Lucy to achieve her career goals. So I'd go to her one-page personal plan, go and have a look at that, have a chat with Lucy to see how you're going with those goals that we set out. And we're 75% there. So it breaks it down into my tasks below as well. You can see that. So I can actually break down subtasks, if you like, and build up my own task list into these particular actions.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And basically they're the core functions. So it comes from the annual initiatives over here, brings them across into my dashboard, and then they're all linked to the company dashboard. But you see how it's stripped it out, Kobe? It's pulled from the company dashboard the elements that I'm responsible for in line with the company priorities. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yep. So it's lovely how it sort of brings about. I can see the bigger picture. I can see Everest, but I'm not losing sight of my next base camp push.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that my dashboard, for instance, is tailored for me.
Yep.
But it's really stripping out of the company dashboard.
Yeah. And look, I think, the one thing I want to point out when we've implemented over the years, you and I, 3 or 4 different types of these kinds of systems.
Yes.
The one big thing this does do is that individual people are in working here, as a user, like Lucy and Jane and Tom as an example. You don't need that extra resource. You do need a champion, and that's what your coach is there for, is to help you through this. But you don't need that coordinator. We used to have Flavia, who used to coordinate everybody's plans and all the graphs and all the numbers and the stats and manually make a dashboard. And that is something that this takes away. So you don't require that extra resource. You have people working on their projects. Like, we all still have notebooks here at Best Practice, but you have people working, on their key tasks that are part of that key thing that has to happen to drive the company forward. And you can sit down and have your meeting pulse, and this is what you refer back to. So people, there's a little bit of work where people have got to enter what they're doing into this system. But at the same time, it does give, accountability and transparency. And it's like, well, why wouldn't people write down the list of things they're contributing to the team to contribute to the greater vision in this system? It is important. I haven't seen another way to do it, and it is work, and it is part of the company's, goal to serve customers and keep growing and doing the right thing in our contribution. And so if someone's not motivated to do this, then they're probably not the right person to be on your team to help your organization continue to grow. So if someone looks at this and goes, oh, it's too much hard work, then you really got to question, well, are they there? Are they part of helping the team achieve its goal? Yes, this is one of the ways of going about doing it. Lots of different things to do. So back to the book, for $30, you can go and purchase the book on Amazon, eBay, from your local bookstore, and get started. You don't need us for that. No. You can get those hard copy templates. You can photocopy them, blow them up, write on them, expand them. But really getting into this is where we are the gym and the personal trainer in one. If you really want to get that accelerated, turbocharged performance and those other benefits as you go through. Look, we got 2 minutes left. We're almost out of time.
Sorry, Kobe.
No, it's good. It's good.
Certainly. There's lots to talk about in here if people would like to, but reaching out's fine. So
tell us, what's the best way to reach out to the infamous Nick Fagan? What's the best way to get to you?
I'm not omnipotent, not everywhere, but I tell you where it can be found. You can go via the nextpractice.education website, and you can lodge an inquiry there, or you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a message via LinkedIn. LinkedIn seems to be probably the place to go by way of connection and message, or simply go to the Best Practice Biz website, which will lead to potentially the coaching element in that Biz website, which is Next Practice as well. Certainly, people could contact you, Kobe, if they'd like.
Absolutely. Comment on this video. Yeah, if you want to reach out to Nick and you've seen this video, you can hit a comment there, particularly if you're watching on YouTube. Then absolutely, watching YouTube, we see all of the comments on YouTube in one inbox. We monitor them all. But if you go to bestpractice.biz, any of those platforms you love, but bestpractice.biz has a live chat there, so you can chat and submit your details. It's super simple. So look, we are out of time. I want to thank you, mate, once again for this amazing insight. So you can get access to those tools by grabbing a copy of that book. We want to make sure everybody knows that and it's really clear. I think it's important that you do get out what you invest, and so the more you invest in this, and that's money and time, the more you will get out of it. It's not something that you can sort of get for free, and when you get things for free, you get out what you invest. If you don't put anything in, you won't get anything out. So I want to encourage people to understand that principle as well. We get a lot out of it. We've invested a lot in it, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of training, and that's why we're getting great results. So it's an important thing to understand in business, in any part of what you guys are doing. Is that make that investment, and it's like investing in your health, investing in your fitness, investing in your career. You put the work into the hours of learning and development and training, you'll get the same out of it. So that is something to think about. So we're here to help you, but it's really important to me to make sure that you guys know how to access these things, as cheap as possible. So you can do that. And then if you want the high performance outcomes, then you can come to the high performance team, which is us here at Next Practice. So, but it's really important to me to make sure there's no blockage. So you guys can access it, check it out, and then reach out to us. Keep watching this stuff. We're going to keep giving you this free guidance and advice I really appreciate everybody's time. Those of you that stuck with us for the whole hour today, and 2 hours, in fact, with yesterday's session. So we are organising very specific, intimate 10-person sessions. If this is something that you are super interested in for your organisation, and you want to do one more kind of session before you reach out to us, send me an email, kobe@bestpractice.biz. And that's my personal email address, kobe@bestpractice.biz. If you want to send me an email and you just want to have a private conversation about how you implement this in your organization, I'm more than happy to get the team here to organize some time for us to have a one-on-one session here and talk about it. We are having breakfast sessions where we're doing a 3-hour session to talk even in more detail as to how to set up and use the workshops, the tools, and the frameworks, that some of the soft skills behind it. Like, it's great to have all the tools and fill it all out, but we'll show you how to actually make it amazing. So we're doing lots of those free sessions over the next couple of months. So if you want to be included on an invitation on an NPX, Next Practice Experience session, we've got those breakfast sessions happening over the next couple of weeks. And they're going to be going on an ongoing basis. So good morning, Stan. Thanks for joining us once again. So for those of you, I hope you've, I'm losing my voice already. Too much talking the last 2 days. So we will be coming back next week. We've got our 2 live streams, same time next week. We're going to be changing it up and changing the format of the live streams just to freshen it up for everybody. I've got 4 amazing speakers lined up to come on and join us here at Best Practice TV over the next couple of weeks from all around the world. I got some great messages from you guys last night in terms of suggestions for people that you'd like to come on to Best Practice TV. So we've got some more interviews coming. The tech is working for us. We're getting it working. We're making the most of this pandemic. So if there's information or someone you want us to speak to, we're going to try and get hold of Vern on. That's going to be one of our goals. We're going to set ourselves over the next couple of weeks, see if we can get him on for an interview to talk about the new book that's about to be released, which is really exciting. And a bunch of other great people. We've got Darren Dinkle coming on from D&G over in Colorado. He's someone really exciting. We've got Dylan Mullen from the Happy Skin Company. He's coming on with some great entrepreneurial stories and great systems and process and people stories from people we've met over the next couple of weeks. So Nick Fagan, as always, it has been a pleasure. The very handsome Nick Fagan, everybody. Give him a round of applause. Yeah, there's a celebrate button down the bottom there on your screen. Hit that and give Nick a virtual round of applause if you're watching on LinkedIn, or a like there on YouTube. So any parting words, mate?
Oh, look, I just want to again applaud you and the team for the work that you're doing, the reach that you've got, and the help. I think people are really benefiting from that. So a round of applause to you and the team as well, mate. Honestly, Excellent. It's great. Excellent. It's really lovely. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome. And if you're not connected to Nick, or if you're not following Nick on LinkedIn, the team are just starting to get going with his LinkedIn profile there. So find Nick Fagan on LinkedIn. I'll tag him in the comments after this post so that you can find him. But Nick Fagan there on LinkedIn. So if you don't see us out and about, you're not going to see Nick because he's still in lockdown in Victoria, but you'll definitely see him out and about on social media. Soon. Thanks again. There's someone innocent there. Thank you for joining us from Brisbane. So any of you guys watching, let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching this after the recording, I love seeing where people are watching from. Hit that subscribe button if you are watching on YouTube to get more notifications from Best Practice TV as the videos come on. If you don't see me out and about, you're definitely going to see me right here next week on Best Practice TV or the Kobe Summit audio experience. I'm excited. The team's going to work out how to turn it off. Goodbye.